Don't smile before Christmas. Yeah, but we all want to be liked, don't we? In part one of this series, I revealed to you a nickname I have for my past self, and that nickname is Bushel Boy. And that's taken from the idea in Jesus's words where he says, nobody takes a light or a lamp and hides it under a bushel. Well, a bushel is a bowl, and you don't hide a lamp under a bowl. But I was Bushel Boy. I was hiding the light of my faith in my teens. And now, as you can see, I'm a little bit over that, but I am still a recovering people pleaser. And Bushel Boy was the guy who kept his faith deep down inside and just tried desperately to be normal. And even justified that as a way of saying, well, I can let other people know that Christians can be normal people. We're not all weirdo, holier than thou types. And so the quest to prove that Christianity could be normal was on, and it actually backfires as far as letting people realize that Christianity offers something different and alternative from the world that they live in, and offers a eternal kingdom and a different way of living. So we are actually called to be different, but that was me, Bushel Boy. But I think that it's time to stop talking about me and reverse the camera onto you and say, what about you and people pleasing? I want to go through these 6 faces of the fear of man that I introduced last time. You can go back and see the context and find out more about Bushel Boy. But just to say, when I started teaching, one of the things we were taught was don't smile before Christmas. What that means is when you go into a school and the students are figuring you out as a new teacher, you should go in hard. Go in hard and you can soften off later. Be strict, don't smile, and don't smile before Christmas. So that's a whole term of strict teaching. Reseat the room, reseat the kids, put them on detention, mark harshly, be strong, establish your place in the classroom in the pecking order, establish your authority in that room. And then once you've knocked them into shape, takes them till about Christmas, you can ease off a little bit and show them that you are actually human. So that was the thinking of the day, probably more appropriate in tougher schools where you might need to do that a little bit. However, I do remember in my training, my first teaching practice being in a very difficult school in a difficult area, and some of the most liked teachers, and I don't mean liked because they were soft, the most respected teachers were those who just seemed a little bit more relaxed around the kids and actually saw them as human beings. Not adults, didn't treat them like adults, but did treat them like human beings. So that kind of played on me a little bit. I was discussing this idea with a colleague about 3 years into teaching. And he said to me, because I was talking about, I'm not here to be liked. That's another phrase. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to educate you. Now, this all pertains to the idea of the fear of man, because we want to be liked by people. We want to be liked by our students if we are teachers. We want to be popular as a teacher. And so I'm talking about this to a colleague saying, I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to teach them. And he said to me, yeah, but we all want to be liked, don't we? And I knew he was a popular teacher and quite liked and very human with his class as well, and didn't seem to have too much trouble with classroom discipline. Yeah, we all want to be liked, don't we? And he was saying it not in a way of, yeah, it's a shame though, because we all want to be liked. He was saying maybe we should listen to that inner yearning to be liked. Maybe some of it's okay to want to be liked. So this presents a tension within all of us, I think, of, yeah, we all want to be appreciated, loved. We're designed for love. We're designed for appreciation. We're designed to express it and receive it. And so that's a good thing, but it's where it crosses the line. And when we need that affirmation in order to survive emotionally, then we're into the fear of man. And we get into people pleasing, and we get into approval addiction. So That's the line you will cross somewhere in your life, whether it's trying to please a boss, particularly starts off in interview. If you go for a job interview and you make all sorts of promises because you want to please the interviewer, and then you get into the role and you can't fulfill the promises you've made, and you're constantly striving to please that person, and then you maybe fail, go under the radar. The main problem is you're struggling to be authentic from then on, and you're struggling to be the real you. And so I would ask the question, when was the last time you really felt you could let your hair down and be the real you, just be authentic around people? It's sometimes, for some of us, a rare and precious moment where we find someone we can just be totally ourselves with and not feel judged. I would encourage you to seek those people and to be one of those people yourself. So to recap, the key scripture we're looking at is the idea that the fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Proverbs 29:25. The fear of man is a snare. So I have this concept in my mind that this fear of man takes different forms. So I'm seeing it as a morphing six-headed beast, or a six-faced beast, which manifests itself in whatever guise most prods your insecurities and vulnerabilities. So the first one is the achiever. And so what I want to do is talk about what that is again, and then ask you the question, have a reflect. Well, as I'm reading it, is there any of this in you? It is in me, and I'm actually, need to say, hands up, there they are. All of these are me. All right, so you can't just say, oh, I'm just one of those, because I think we've all of those a bit. We're tempted by all of them, but to different degrees. You could draw a bar graph, if you liked, with each of the 6 types and say how much of each one you are. I'm a little bit of the achiever. I want to achieve, and we'll get into that in a later video. But the achiever, this type relentlessly seeks approval through accomplishments, success, and striving to be the best. Their lives often involved overworking, pushing for perfection, and constantly seeking recognition for their achievements, sometimes even exaggerating or boasting. At its core, their drive stems from a deep-seated fear of being seen as incompetent, ordinary, unsuccessful, a belief that their inherent worth isn't enough on its own without external validation of their deeds. This pursuit of outward achievement, if driven by fear, can be a particularly exhausting snare. How much of an achiever are you? And by that, I don't mean how much of you achieve stuff, because achievement is great. I'm not against achieving stuff. What I'm against is taking too much value and self-worth out of those achievements. Number 2, the accommodator. The accommodator is the classic people pleaser. Their primary focus is gaining approval by catering to other people's needs, diligently avoiding conflict and saying yes, even when every fibre of their being wants to say no. This often looks like difficulty setting boundaries, excessive apologising, taking on too many responsibilities, neglecting their own needs, and suppressing their true opinions. Their underlying fear is rejection, disapproval, or simply being disliked, often deriving their sense of value from being helpful and agreeable. This constant need to appease others is a clear snare to genuine relationships and a snare to self-care, never mind self-worth. You become a doormat. That's the accommodator. You accommodate everybody else's needs, but not your own. I wonder how much of the accommodator you think you are. Maybe you could rank these in order and say which one you think is most you at the top and least you at the bottom. And the bottom one could be one you don't feel you resonate with at all. The third one is the chameleon. This individual aims to gain approval by blending in, adapting their personality, opinions, and even interests to seamlessly fit into different groups or with various individuals. Their behaviours might include changing their opinions to match others, mimicking mannerisms, avoiding expressing any dissenting views, differences of opinion, and constantly shape-shifting their identity. The chameleon. What drives this is a profound fear of standing out. This relates to my previous episode that I talked about, Bushel Boy. Being ostracised or not belonging, which can lead them to lose touch with their true self in the process. This constant adaptation is a snare to true identity. Who am I even? Number 4, the peacekeeper. Well, Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers, but peacekeepers are radically different. This type is fixated on maintaining harmony and avoiding any form of conflict or disagreement at all costs. You'll often see them remaining silent to prevent difficult conversations, downplaying their own successes to avoid drawing attention, or even fawning in response to any perceived threat or disapproval. Rather than boldly making peace, as Jesus encouraged, these people do what they can to maintain what some of us call false harmony. Their deepest fear is conflict, tension, making others uncomfortable, often stemming from a profound anxiety about confrontation itself. Maybe you've had confrontation in the past and you just want to avoid that. Maybe you've grown up in an environment of confrontation. Well, while peace is good, avoiding necessary truth is a snare. Number 5, the rescuer. For this individual, approval comes from saving others, solving their problems, or striving to be indispensable. This can involve constantly offering unsolicited advice. Some of us know what it's like to receive that, but sometimes we might catch ourselves giving unsolicited advice, unwanted, like the person's looking back at you saying, nobody asked your opinion, but I want to rescue you. Or offering help that wasn't asked for, taking on other people's burdens and feeling over responsible for other people's emotions. Their underlying fear is not being needed or valued. They feel worthy only when they are perceived as the one who can fix things for everybody else. This can become a heavy snare of responsibility. You carry the world on your back. Well, that's the rescuer. Nobody can be Superman. And the final one, the attention seeker. Often driven by a deep underlying insecurity, the attention seeker's focus is on gaining approval and validation by drawing constant attention to themselves. Look at me. This might manifest as exaggerating stories, fishing for compliments, or engaging in dramatic behaviour. At its root, the behaviour of the attention seeker is fueled by a fear of insignificance, a fear of being ignored, or of not being noticed in a world where they feel otherwise invisible. This endless pursuit of being noticed is a snare because it prevents you from feeling quietly contented. You relate to the attention seeker. From the school report card to the adult social media post, we are all wondering what other people think about us. When we post something and don't get any likes, how do we feel about that? Or did we just post it because it's out there? I don't know. But understanding these patterns of behaviour in ourselves is a brilliant first step in shifting from the fear of man into what I would say the Bible wants us to be in fear of God, and that's a healthy fear, a reverence, a respect, an acceptance that He is real. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. And the antidote to all of these is to find our safety in God. It's there in that proverb. The fear of man will prove to be a snare, but those who trust in the Lord will be kept safe. Because the fear of man is actually our trusting in ourself. We're using our own means and our own strength to win approval in one way or another, whether it's through attention seeking or peacekeeping or rescuing or any of the other types. But when we trust in the Lord, we are kept safe by Him because we have placed ourselves in His care. So this is a radical shift in focus from self to God. Well, I hope this has helped you in some way to identify some of these character traits in yourself that the Lord would want to weed out so that we can become more whole and Christ-like and live happier lives as we put our faith in Him. As we go forward through the various weeks, we'll be looking at the different phases of the fear of man and dismantling their power, chopping off the head of the giant, slaying that dragon, any other metaphors you want. But the main metaphor is it's a snare, it's a trap. We don't want to stay trapped in the fear of people pleasing and approval addiction. In the meantime, until I see you, God bless you.